Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast, the main events.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Ding! Fight!
I love that we're like 5 seconds in, and it's always an amazing show, even 5 seconds in. We are here with you this week, no longer, unfortunately, with one of us there with one of our co-hosts in Texas. Alas, there are two of us back in Tucson and one in Texas, although all three of us may be in Texas very soon. So keep your ears, well, like, I guess you don't peel your ears. You wouldn't keep your ears peeled. Keep your ears perked. There we go. For news on that. Anyway, I'm Bradley Harris, and along with some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos who love film and friends, of course, we review films either current or classic on this show. And this week we're coming at you with a review of The Smashing Machine, starring none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson himself. Y'all, I did a little bit of research because I knew for a hot minute he didn't want to go by The Rock anymore, but he basically has told his fans he will always be The Rock, and it's okay to call him that. I lovingly know him as The Rock from his wrestling days, so that may slip out from time to time. But also Dwayne Johnson, the serious actor, we see you, literally, in this movie, doing your thing. Can't wait to talk about it. Before we do, let me introduce my co-hosts who are very patiently being quiet while I do my silly little intro, and I thank you both for it immensely. Jim Pugliafico, welcome to the virtual studio / fighting ring. How are you?
I'm ready to go. I'm all sweaty and ready to go. Sweaty and ready.
God, sweaty and ready. Jesus. The things you do to
Mm-hmm.
me, Pugliafico. All right. Well, so glad that you're here to join us for this. William Lindis is also with us as well. Will, it's like all the W words, apparently, where you're concerned. But good to see you. Unfortunately, not seeing you in person. I got back a few days ago, and of course, Jim was there for Fantastic Fest and got back a few days before me. We're both missing you, Scott, Adelaide, and Huck very much, but so glad we get to connect here. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Absolutely missing y'all. I've had a week of one, a week of the other, and hopefully soon I'll get a week of both again. But in the meantime, I'm gonna take all of those sad feelings of FOMO and departure now that y'all are back at home. I'm gonna put them in the octagon, and I'm gonna snap their leg in two. I'm gonna make them tap out. You hear that? I'm gonna win this Friday night.
Except it's a Tuesday night relative to when we're recording, but the enthusiasm is
Well, it's
clocked
a Friday
and
night
loved.
fight, you know. Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, we may not all be in the same location, and with Jim and I potentially moving to Austin within the next couple months, that's on the table. Doing this show in person around a table could be a fun thing that happens at some point, and we would look forward to that a lot. It'll be like, whose house? Yours or ours? Well, like, where do we set up our shit? We'd figure it out. It's like, do we want cat co-hosts this week or dog co-hosts? We'll have to make these new kinds of choices.
We'll alternate menageries as is fitting for how we're feeling each week.
There we go. All right, everyone. Well, listen, I see several of you are hanging out with us already. Welcome. So glad to have you here. I have to give a very loving shout out to Kristen, who has been telling all kinds of folks about our show. I gave her a little shit last week for telling some folks about the show in a little more safe for work environment that I'm used to. But Kristen, you're amazing for spreading the word about the show. We thank you. For anyone who's tuning in, who is used to be being all very polite and never cursing, well, you're warned because I do that here.
You're
So
in for a fucking
just
surprise. Just telling you right now.
Listen
just
here, you
FYI.
flip doodles.
Right. I'm very improper on this show, and You know, I'm not a different person. I just swear more on the podcast.
Your
Yeah,
ears.
let's just wait, Brad, until you introduce the segment that comes after our main segment tonight.
I'm already like,
Let's see how inappropriate things get.
Your ears might need a shower by the time we're done.
they might. It's not that bad, but I
No,
mean,
it's not. It's not.
we are going to say some things
It's
that
not.
might turn your cheeks a little red. But you know what? We're all adults. It's a good thing. Anyway, Kristen, love and adore you. Appreciate you. Jim, you're back in Tucson. You've been back for a little while now. I've been back for a few days. Will, we had a really great time hanging out with you and Scott and the dogs. Thanks for hosting us across a couple of weeks while I did some work stuff. And of course, Jim did the festival with you. Will, how does it feel to have your house back without house guests, though? Is it and no, you know, like badness if you're like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. But
No,
is it good to just like have your
it
space back?
it's always a mixed bag, you know, because it's part of it's part of the fun, especially this last week was I'd get done with work, you come back or I'd pick you up and we're like, what are we doing for dinner tonight? And that was always really fun. And of
Mm.
course, but it's also nice always to sort of have the like, well, what am I going to do after work today? Maybe I'll just do some reading, play some video games, and just sort of have a chill. So it's you know, I don't think either is better than the other. They're both good in different ways.
Yeah, totally get that. Babe, you can speak to it too, but I know for us, like, we love having house guests. We love it. It's great.
Mm.
But there's always that moment, like, when
Yep.
they depart and we kind of fall back into, like, our old routines. And it's like I'm sitting around, you know, in a bathrobe with my giant bear slippers. I'm not concerned what I look like. And I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, I forgot. This is awesome. I love this. And the fun part is I probably could have done it anyway. You know what I mean? But it's just like, oh, extra person, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it changes the dynamic, right? So you know,
Mm.
you're more likely to like, well, maybe I won't wear the robe. Maybe I'll put on some clothes before I head downstairs, that sort of thing, you know. Um, and it makes me, you know, it gets me back into sort of a moment of stasis, of status quo, of kind of the norm, so that the next time we're all together, it will feel all the more special as well. So I mean, it all feeds into each other.
Indeed. Well, we have someone on the live stream with us. Kev. Hey, Kev. Says,
Hey,
hello,
Kev.
gentlemen. You're all looking handsome this evening. Red heart emoji. Kev, you're always looking pretty handsome yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Mhm.
Glad to have you here. Welcome.
Always good to see you on the stream, Kev. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. And I'm always hoping that some of the folks that are joining us have maybe seen the movie or at least have an interest maybe in seeing the movie so that we can have a little maybe some comments during our review
Mm.
and or questions. Even if they haven't seen the movie, we can, you know, dive into questions, whether it's in the non-spoiler section or in the spoiler section.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those who may be new to the show, to Jim's point, when we talk about a movie, we do it spoiler free for about the first 10 or 15 minutes. We give our initial impressions, whether we think it's, you know, worth watching on, you know, in a movie theater, on streaming, DVD, you know, whatever. We may say skip it, but at the end of the day, that's a decision only you can make, and you should do that with all the information that helps you do so. So if you choose to listen, uh, that's awesome. We support you, especially if it's the spoiler section for a movie you haven't seen yet. But we'll also give you a spoiler warning, and then I will awkwardly ramble for at least 40 seconds to give you an opportunity to you know, jump out of the stream or hit pause, you know, depending on the way you're listening. But I will say this, we are going to be doing some plugs at the end of this episode. Things we love, we want to put on your radar. So if you haven't seen The Smashing Machine, you want to hear our initial thoughts, hello, welcome. Glad to have you. Just make sure to come back for those plugs at the end. Whether you're on the live stream, you know, come back in half an hour or just skip forward using the time index in the show notes that Jim puts in there for you. Do what you're going to do. Guys, are we ready to get
Mhm.
to our movie conversation for this week?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
I should have asked if we're ready for the main event, but
Mhm.
that's more like wrestling. Full disclosure, I've never watched an actual UFC match. Do they do the whole like let's get ready to
It
rumble?
depends on the era of UFC to the degree that they do some of that, but I mean,
Okay.
it's it does straddle a line between the like boxing and wrestling, so you're in the
Mm.
right area. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know what you could have asked instead of let's get ready for the main event? You could have said, "Hey guys, you ready to smash?"
Oh, that
Mhm.
rocks. That was lame. Brad, come on. You had something better than
No,
that in the
that
tank,
that
didn't
Dwayne
you?
Johnson's.
All right. Well, then we're going to go ahead and
DJ.
kick off our movie discussion. Here we go. Our talk about the Smashing Machine. All right, Jim, set this one up for us if you don't
Yeah.
mind, because this is one you definitely put on my radar,
Mm.
and I didn't even know it was a thing, and embarrassingly, maybe question mark, I didn't even know it was The Rock that was in this movie, just because of how different he looks. But what the fuck is the Smashing Machine? And should people check this out while it's in theaters? Wait for streaming, DVD, skip it? Where do you come down?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to where I come down on this movie kind of toward the end of my discussion of it. But first, let me introduce it. It's like you said, it's a smashing machine. It does star Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Emily Blunt, and a few other folks that we'll talk about during the review. But mainly, those are the two main. Well, there's one other person in here that I would say is kind of a main character. And his name is Ryan Bader. He plays Mark Coleman, who is uh, Mark Kerr's friend. So this movie, I mentioned Mark Kerr. This is the story of mixed martial arts, which is MMA, and UFC, which is Ultimate Fight Conference. Is that, I don't know, champion Ultimate Fighting
Ultimate
Championship.
Fighting Championship.
Wait, it's
Championship.
not Fight Club?
No, it's not
God.
Fight Club.
Well,
No.
if it was, we wouldn't be able to talk about it tonight.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, this guy Mark Kerr was one of the first superstars of these this mixed martial arts world, which is now a total phenomenon around the world. It saw explosive growth, but this was kind of before that all happened. This was kind of in the infancy of when it was just starting to get going. This guy Mark Kerr, fighter Mark Kerr, was an interesting character, and it he has a story to tell, and this movie tells that story. The movie is written and directed by Benny Safdie. You may have heard us talk about the Safdie brothers, Benny and help me out,
Josh.
Josh Safdie, who've done Uncut Gems. Um, what was the other one with Pattinson?
Good with good
Good
time.
Time. Good Time. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Safdie brothers, both of them. Benny Safdie is even an actor as well. He was in Oppenheimer, if you remember, as like I think it was like the German scientist guy in that. But yeah, so went into this movie. I'm going to say up front, I'm not an expert. I don't know a lot about MMA. I know that it exists. I probably haven't watched a one whole match. I think it's very barbaric and sometimes a little hard to watch if you're not really into that. Even more so than like boxing or WWE wrestling. Um, but yeah, so I didn't know anything about that world. I didn't know who Mark Kerr was, but this trailer caught me when I saw it, and I'm like, holy shit, that's The Rock, because the transformation that he does for this role physically is something to behold for sure. But I think his just as much, I think his acting in this is fantastic. I think it's he obviously took this role very seriously, right? You're used to seeing The Rock in these big Disney blockbusters, being The Rock, being the the big, strong, goofy but soft guy. He's not really that in this film. I think he um, did his homework here. Obviously, uh, I can't say he was just like Mark Kerr because we don't get to see Mark Kerr. Well, I didn't even know Mark Kerr, so I don't know how much like Mark Kerr he is. But we'll talk a little bit about that in spoilers too. Um, I really, really like this film. My only issue with this film, and it's not really an issue with the movie itself, is that I don't know what kind of audience we're going to get. This film is going to get. I think hardcore fighting fans might be interested in the life of Mark Kerr because it's about his life and it's not just about his matches, right? This is more like think of Rocky. You could think of the movie Rocky where it's about Rocky's life outside the ring. This movie is much more, I think, about his life outside the ring and what he's dealing with, the struggles he's having. This film, at one point, I'm like, okay, this is paint by the numbers. I know how this is going to go. He's going to do this, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and at the end, it's going to be this. Well, guess what? I didn't know. It's a real person. I didn't know the real person's story, and so my expectations were very pleasantly subverted, I will say, by the end of this film. So I give this movie a lot of credit for bringing to light the life of this person, and I think Dwayne Johnson did a fantastic job. Who knows? Maybe in the running for some kind of award nomination later in the year. We'll see how that happens. This movie didn't probably do very well box office wise, so it's going to be difficult, I think, for this movie to get consideration. We'll see. But I say, yeah, if you get a chance to see this either in the movie theater or even later when it comes to streaming, I would definitely recommend it. It reminds me of, it's not a documentary at all, but it kind of felt a little bit like a documentary. It's like cinema verite style on Mark Kerr's life, except it was all like a reenactment. So, yeah, I think it's a great film. I'm very high on this one.
All right. Well, thank you so much for weighing in because MMA fighters do that. Get it?
Yeah.
With your thoughts, let's head on over to William/Will. What did you think, Will? Did this one hit as well for you? Where did you come down?
Yeah, so ultimately, I think this one hit. I have some issues and reservations, and I'll talk about those here in a moment. Things that I think kind of keep it from like high tier for me. But the baseline review is it's good. I liked it. So you mentioned that this has the feel of a documentary. A lot of the story was pulled. A lot of times when you're adapting the life history of someone, you adapt it from their autobiography or from interviews with people, or like there's usually like a source text that is the inspiration for whatever the script is going to be. And in this case, HBO Films back in 2002 put out a documentary called The Smashing Machine, The Life and Times of Mark Kerr, or something like that. And a lot of the interviews and a lot of the people that had a prominent role in it, as well as some of the stories and anecdotes that were being told from that, made its way here. So that's sort of like the source of truth, or like the inspiration for this. So there's your documentary, Jim. It's adapted from a documentary.
Inspiration from a documentary, or adaptation from. Yeah.
So you mentioned this. I'll start with like the direction, which I think is the film's strongest point. I really like what Benny Safdie does here with the biopic format. Again, this is a guy who he, with his brother Josh, have put out some really solid, tense character films, between Heaven Knows What, into Good Time, into Uncut Gems, into this. And one of the things that I really appreciated, and this is not a long time collaborator with them, but the cinematographer that he pulled in here, Maceo Bishop, does a lot of that Safdie style, like handheld camera shot, where even just a scene where someone might be talking or there might be like a crowd of people and you have kind of like a pan and zoom that almost feels voyeuristic at times as you're just sort of like zooming in on a particular person's reaction to something. I think that very much elevates a lot of the storytelling here because it gives you an extra beat to process what a character might be thinking about or what someone in the crowd might be experiencing at a particular moment. I do like The Rock's performance here. I think that, you know, we're probably, you know, he's probably on the outside to right on the inside cusp of like potential like awards consideration at the end of the year. I think it mostly worked. I wonder how much of that is, you know, this is around the time of year where we see a good prosthesis, and sometimes, you know, that helps with getting the actor some cred. You know, we've seen that a lot of times where, like, you know, Gary Oldman will be, he transformed. It's like, well, no, the makeup team transformed him.
Physically, sure.
Yeah. And that's part of it, right? You know, so I think the performance was decent. It was good. I think the direction elevated it. I also like that this is not a womb to tomb biopic. That's my least favorite type of biopic. The thing that just sort of tells every moment of someone's life all the way through. In most cases, I don't give a shit about that. I want to know about something pivotal, some main story that this person experienced, why this story is important to me. And in this case, the Smashing Machine really follows just a 3 to 4 year window, right as Mark Kerr, who has already become around that time, UFC had only been around years. Pride, which was a Japan league, had been around, I believe, a little bit longer. He had done a little bit of stuff in UFC, but had really made his name in the Pride fighting arena. And this shows that part of his career where he's already an established name and he's trying to sort of hold on to that despite a lot of other personal demons that are coming up in his life. I like that. You could almost say, you know, you gave the analogy of this is sort of like Rocky. And I think you could even say this is sort of like a Rocky, you know, this would be like dropping in at like Rocky 3 or Rocky 4 or something like that, where it's like he's already crested the first set of hills, but there's still more hill ahead of him. I think that's a great place to sort of tell this particular biopic. There's also something with the when we talk about the cinematography, like with the actual film grain and some of the color coding, that makes it feel both of the area and also, again, that sort of like handheld camera voyeuristic vibe, like maybe we shouldn't be in these, like watching these scenes, and yet we are, so it makes them feel a little more titillating, a little more tantalizing a result. So I really like this, and I think that the way the story is told, I think it's a good story by itself, but I think this is one where the way the story is told enhances the story even more. So I would recommend it. In terms of, Jim, your question about the audience, it didn't really do blockbuster budget number, you know, but who cares, right? You know, a good movie is a good movie is a good movie. So if this at all trips your trigger, if you like the idea of something like Mickey Rooney's, what was it, the Wrestler, if you like you know, kind of that sort of like heavy look at the toll that being an athlete weighs on someone's life, this is going to be right up your alley.
Awesome, Will. Thank you so much for your thoughts too. I find myself thinking about, like, why didn't this movie make more money? Why aren't more people talking about this movie? And I think what we have to remember is this is not like an ESPN or UFC made like film with all of that like marketing machine behind it, released during summer blockbuster season. This is an A24 film about MMA fighting. So it's kind of a different animal. Not to say it's not worth seeing and necessarily, you know, going out and seeing it in theaters or streaming or whatever, but like, you know, it doesn't surprise me that like someone I was talking to at work after we went to see the movie the other day, well, I was like, they were like, "What'd you do last night?" And I'm like, "Oh, I went to see the Smashing Machine." I'm like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the new like MMA movie. Dwayne Johnson like plays this famous fighter." And they're like, "Oh, okay. What was it on ESPN? Like, where did you see it?" You know what I mean? So like, not surprising. That said, I had a really good time seeing this movie. And I think there were a couple reasons why. One, the movie itself is good. Let me just get that out of the gate. Um, Enjoy is a hard word, but I think I appreciated this movie a lot for some things that it tried to do that actually I think kind of elevated MMA and UFC for me. I've always seen commercials for those fights, especially like in movie theaters now because we have commercials. Thanks, capitalism. And it's like tune in Saturday for the match of the century, blah blah. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, can I just enjoy my soda and candy and let the movie start, please? But this almost brought like a really endearing and relatable human element to something that like I just have never really connected with before. Well, that's kind of a lie. I've connected with UFC from the hairy-chested fighters in the promos, but like that's where it stops. Like it's just the eye candy. In any event, I feel like I'm rambling, but I really appreciated that we had a human story here that isn't one of those like by the numbers stories. I was like, yep, I know exactly how this story is going to go. I know what this arc is going to be. I was totally wrong about it, and I was really happy to be wrong. So we'll talk more about some of that in spoilers.
Mm.
Um, I will say that Emily Blunt was kind of unrecognizable in this at first. Later on, she becomes a little more like Emily Blunty in ways that I'm used to.
She was very blunty
I
in this movie,
know, very,
if
very
you know what I
Blunty.
mean.
I do. But I really appreciated what she did in this film, and of course, Dwayne Johnson, or as a lot of his fans know him, The Rock. Y'all, my first exposure to The Rock was not WWE or whatever it's called, WWF. It was an episode of Star Trek Voyager, y'all, where he played in an alien fighting ring, and the fights were called Sunkatse. Anyway, he fought Seven of Nine, and she kicked his ass. Sorry, spoilers. And it was amazing, but that's where I learned that he was like a wrestler, and I didn't even like wrestling, but he was fun, and he was cool, and I'm pretty sure I've seen pretty much every movie he's been in. He just chews scenery, and even the bad Jumanji films, I think he
Yeah,
elevates them. So coming into this film, I'm like, hmm. Well, it's MMA. It's not wrestling. What is this going to be? And I thought he was great. I thought he did a really good
yeah,
job. So the movie itself, good. Enjoyed it a lot. Special. I recommend you see it. Don't recommend you see it in theaters. You don't have to. There's other cool stuff out to see right now, but I would definitely say like I don't know if you like human stories, if you like um like just kind of learning more about maybe a sport you don't know anything about, this is a good one to do it. The second thing that made this movie special for me was seeing it with you, Will, and of course with Scott. I'd had a really long day at work, awesome day at work, great seeing coworkers, great doing all the work things, but I ended up staying late that night, and I was working on stuff until like the moment you all pulled up outside, pretty much. And then I was like, oh, they're here, shit. So I like raced downstairs and flew out the door, and we hopped in the car, went to the comic shop, which was fun, and then went to see the movie. Got to go to an Alamo location I've never been to before, which was super rad. The Mueller location. And not only did I get to go to a location I hadn't been to before, we fucking ran into Aziz Ansari, who was promoting Good Fortune at that Alamo location, which was like totally random. We had to go through the bar to get to the elevator because they have like a million stairs. And we're like, fuck that. No, let's do the elevator. And it was funny, babe, because you weren't there, so I'll tell the story. On our way in, it was just people on the stage doing really bad karaoke. So like we didn't know like he was there or what it was, what was going on. But at the desk, they were telling people that they were turning people away from going into this thing. So I was like, well, why are they turning people away from really shitty like versions of Journey? But when we came back down through the elevator, the doors open and there's Ansari, and he's like got a giant barrel of fortune cookies, and I may have grabbed a fortune cookie and brought it home to Jim. And believe it or not, it was special. It didn't have anything written on the package, but Jim, what was in your fortune cookie when you broke it open?
Uh, well, I probably should have guessed this, but it was basically an advertisement for the Good Fortune movie.
What? Oh my
Yeah,
god!
I know, right? Could you believe it? It was like,
That's an amazing
watch
impression, by the
watch
way.
Good Fortune, and here's the release date. Yeah.
Yeah, but totally cool, super fun, and that's part of the cool part about Austin. Like you just fucking run into filmmakers and actors, and there's a lot of promotional stuff happening, and so it was just a really cool experience to be there. And then we got to go out for dinner the next the next night,
The
which
next
was
night,
fun,
yeah, we did
which is really cool.
Chewy's
Yep,
night.
we did Chewy's, which was nice. And the only reason I bring that up is it's like I was still thinking about the movie the next night. So I didn't bring this up at dinner, Will, but there was a person sitting behind you and Scott who looked an awful lot like Ryan Bader, the
Oh,
one who plays Mark Coleman in the film. And for a hot second, I was like, oh my God, is that
Very
him?
hot
Is that
second,
him?
I'm sure.
Yeah, but then I realized he didn't have the cauliflower ear thing that Ryan Bader has going on. Because get this, Ryan Bader is a real fighter
yep.
in
Oh yeah,
UFC, which
fighter
I
turned
had no
actor.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had no clue. And I think he was like my third favorite part of this movie behind The Rock and Emily Blunt. My only real big complaint is I'm looking at all these great pictures of Ryan Bader with all the belts he's won and all the things, and he has a beautiful hairy chest that was not on display in the Smashing Machine. He was totally shaved smooth. I don't know why. Was the real Mark
Right.
Coleman maybe smooth, and that's why? I
I
don't
think
know. But
I
that
think,
I
being said,
think
yeah.
like,
I think audiences and studios and filmmakers have this aversion to hairy bodies, and it's a shame. And we could have probably a whole show about that bias. But
mm,
there is definitely a bias, and especially when it comes, obviously when it comes to male nudity, waist up, hairy chests. Although you do see them, they're generally not. They don't seem like they're the preferred upper torso view of men.
For what it's worth, I think the situation here is more along the lines of what Brad had mentioned. They were really trying to do, like trying to match the original people, and Mark Coleman that was a smooth chested guy.
okay. Well, if you shaved his chest for the art, I guess I can't complain with that. But if it was like modern day women don't like hairy chested guys, I will complain about that because that's
But
a fucking
but
lie.
here's the thing: the original uh, material was probably based on some UFC or MMA fighting, which is, yes, it's fighting and it's sport, but it's also show. And so the
Mm-hmm.
dudes that get out there, I'm sure, shave for the show. Like I don't think a lot of the audience members are cool with like big hairy dudes getting in the ring. I'm
I,
just
let
saying
me
that.
let me, as someone who has spent some time watching UFC, I can push back on that. There are hairier people in mixed martial arts. Just a lot of it. There's less and less of it now because it used to be, it was you had different people representing a lot of different styles, the grapplers, the boxers, the punchers. Look up Tank Abbott, who was one of the most popular fighters for kind of the early to mid
Oh my!
UFC. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, you have a lot of guys that are sort of like that around that range. What's happened over time, as with anything, is instead of there being like, oh, this style versus this style, the fighting styles have homogenized a little bit into something that is like more of like a mixed martial arts generalized style, because you've kind of taken the best of different things, and that's what people trained on. They optimize. And part of that, there's a lot more grappling, and body hair is not as great when you're doing like floor
Right.
grappling. So I do agree. Yes, there is bias in society. I don't think that's really happening as much here as much as like, yes, this is Tank Abbott. Like this was my entry point into MMA when it was the Tank Abbotts of the world, just sort of like punching people until he ran out of steam and then just laid on top of them
Right.
for 30 minutes. Or like Hoist Gracie, like just like rolling down on the ground with people.
That's the DBC, the Dad Bod Championship right there. That's what that is. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, so for those who are listening to the audio version of this show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you are not seeing the image currently on the screen of these two big-bellied, big-armed, kind of flabby, hairy fighters, barrel-chested, going at each other. But, Jiminy Christmas, I would watch the hell out of this if this is what we had in these fights. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm rethinking my whole thing, but I don't know if body hair is an issue with grappling. I guess that explains
right.
it.
And both Mark Kerr and Mark Coleman, I think, and this was mentioned in the movie and emphasized in the movie that Mark Kerr was a grappler. Like he came out of the Greco-Roman wrestling world, and I'm not sure about Mark Coleman. Maybe him too, as opposed to like boxing. Right. Or martial arts, but you're right. Will it's kind of homogenized into one, but you always have kind of like, oh, he's a stronger grappler than he is a boxer, or this one's stronger in martial arts styles than he is in grappling. So if the grappler gets you down on the ground, you're fucked because he's gonna take care of you. So you have to avoid that.
Well, Mark Coleman and Mark Kerr also, they were the two people that sort of, there was a long stretch of MMA where like the style was what's called ground and pound, which was you get into a specific style of grapple where you're on top of them and then you beat them in the face a bunch until they quit. Ground and pound, get them on the ground, then beat on them. And if you'll notice, since the two of them are the kind of like the fathers of ground and pound, you'll notice that happened a lot in these matches, especially like the Mark Kerr, the Rock matches. You would see him like just trying to scoop someone up and then get them on the ground and do that stuff. So they did a really good job of like going to the tapes and like actually matching like the styles that these guys used to fight instead of like the Rock's wrestling style. I'm sure his athleticism helped, but but the fact that they mirrored the fighting styles, I thought was pretty cool.
For sure. Well, guys, how about we go ahead and make that transition over to spoiler talk so we can kind of take the gloves off, if you will, and we keep talking about Pound Town or whatever it is. I have different thoughts.
Ground and pound, baby.
Ground and pound.
Ground and pound.
I've used that move once.
You got to use that. Yeah, you could use that.
Yeah, it's
it's maybe
suggestive.
Carpet instead of a ring, but anyway, okay, we're gonna make that transition, folks. If you continue to listen past this point, you do so at your own peril, because I am officially activating the visual ticker on the screen that the spoilers for the film are happening now. Be advised, watch, or in your case, if you're accessing the audio version only, listen at your own peril. Spoilers for The Smashing Machine are officially fair game. Where do y'all want to start?
Well, I'd go for it. Start by that I thought it was great how the movie ended, and it did show it just did it like a smash cut, and you're watching a guy like grocery shop in a store randomly, right? And you're like, who the fuck is this guy? We haven't seen this guy the whole movie. And then it dawned on me like, oh, this is the real Mark Kerr. He's still around. He's, I'm sure he was a heavy part of the production of this film. But it did show him a little bit at the end of the movie. It wasn't just, oh, here's the stills of the real guy when he was fighting. There was some of that, but so it gave us a glimpse of what the real guy looks like. He didn't really have any lines, but I just thought that was great to see that in the film. As I was mentioning earlier, I think this film's, definitely subverted my expectation. I not knowing the documentary story or the real story, I'm like, okay, this guy probably died of some uh, drug overdose or something, or he died before this film was made. But nope, he's still around, and the movie did not go there. Also, this movie didn't end with the what do you call it, victorious big match. He comes out as champion and gets crowned the king of the world, and it ends kind of on a whimper, right? He doesn't have his big moment, at least at the end of this film. I think this film wants to make it known that his big moments have already come, right? His big moments have already come. He's paved the way for this sport. um, and yeah, I really liked how the movie downplayed the kind of the results of the matches. Like, this movie wasn't. I compared it to Rocky earlier, but it wasn't. In Rocky, I can remember some of those movies where like a third of the movie was one fight. You know what I mean? One fight. This movie wasn't like that. This movie didn't focus too much on the actual fights. Were there fights in the movie? Yes, but it wasn't like constant. Like, okay, here's the fight. Here's the moves you're gonna do. Uh, Here's every cut and bruise you got in this fight and how you got him. Um, yeah, I just think this film did a lot that I wasn't expecting, and for me, I want to be surprised at the movie and I want to feel something too.
Yeah, this really showed that this was a guy who already had won most of his battles, but this really was a film about him in another type of battle, and that's a battle against himself, against his addiction, against um, some of the outbursts caused by those two things and the way that they impacted the people in his life. And I think what works so well here is that I don't think the film ever goes out of its way to mythologize or apologize for Mark Kerr. Like, when he's in the wrong
Right.
in this movie, the movie lets him be in the wrong. Um, it doesn't make excuses for him. We understand, like, hey, the drugs you're on right now are making you act like an asshole. And the fact that Kerr himself appeared in this movie means that he signed off on that portrayal of himself. And so, what that ultimately tells me is this is a story about a person who grew beyond the darkest parts of themselves to find something at the other side of it. And the fact that he's still around today, it sounds like even after the movie, based off of the postscript stuff, there were some highs and some lows that occurred for him in his life, but he's still trucking. He's got kids that he's that are, I guess, now probably in their like late teens or so, if I'm doing or maybe early 20s, depending on how the math goes. He came out of it in a much better spot than I think we or a lot of the people in his life maybe anticipated he would have during the darkest of these dark times. So in that regards, he did kind of win those final fights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I appreciated most about this movie in terms of, like, the end or how things worked out. A lot of times with these films, it's like, oh, this is the journey to their like crowning moment of achievement in their career, and I'm like, yup, he's on drugs, whatever.
He's
He'll be
gonna get to the
fine.
final and
He's
win.
gonna get to the final. He's gonna have his Karate Kid, you're the best around moment. Nothing's gonna take him down. But that's not true. That's not what happened. Something did take him down. Somebody took him down, and a lot of things took him down. But that moment where he like reclaims joy out of the trauma and the sorrow and the shame, where he just smiles at himself and starts like laughing, like, that's kind of amazing. Like, I really appreciated that about the film. And one of my big life philosophies lately, I didn't come up with it, but I certainly ascribe to it, is that failure is life's biggest teacher. That's how we learn to be better and do better. And get I don't know, get more impact out of our lives. And I feel like this was a really good example of that. So, I want to go to a comment in the live chat. I didn't even know The Rock was in it until it was advertised that way. LOL. This is Game Freakness. Remind me, who is Game Freakness? We know that name. Why do we know that name? It looks really familiar.
I don't know.
Is
Come on, let me in
is
on
this
the secret.
somebody, Game Freakness? Are you somebody that we know? I thought this was like someone who showed up on the show and we like knew their identity. No, maybe not. Okay. Well, I feel like we've seen a comment maybe before. In any event,
Yeah, this isn't their
yes,
first time on the show.
it's not. It's not. But let us know who you are because we want to give you credit. And we'll have to what Game Freakness is. Is this like a game channel or something? We'll look into it. We'll do some research. But yeah, a lot of people are saying that they didn't even know The Rock was in this. And that's why I did some research as to like, does Dwayne Johnson even want to like be known as The Rock anymore? Does he like even want to like acknowledge that? And he wore all of this like makeup and prosthesis, and you can definitely tell it's him if you listen to his voice. He's maybe more of like a reading rainbowy kind of version of himself in terms of like his mannerisms and his voice and how he carries himself. He's like gentle giant until he's not, kind of
Right.
like
And
LeVar Burton, which is amazing.
I love that about the characterization of Mark Kerr. Again, not knowing what Mark Kerr was like.
Mhm.
This is The Rock playing somebody who's not The Rock. It may look a little bit different, but it wasn't. He didn't have a. He was a lot of time. Mark Kerr was kind of like a very, was big and strong, but he wasn't an imposing figure like verbally or anything like that. He was very meek and mild, and I loved seeing that conflict of styles between what The Rock usually like. The Rock in almost every movie he's in is the fucking Rock. Like he's this adventure type and he's a strong guy and the smart guy and he's everything. In this movie, he's not that. And he's just he really embodied what I think, Mark Kerr probably was, which is distant from what The Rock really is. And that's why I give him a lot of credit for that. And I love the character. And it made you really empathize with the character. Whereas with The Rock in movies, it's just The Rock. I don't really empathize with him.
It's a really good point. And babe, just FYI, there was some distortion going on there. And my internet connection dropped out for a second, and then it brought me back in. So, but it sounds like Will heard it a little bit too. So just FYI. But
yeah,
I think we caught the gist of what you were saying, and that's that like it's not that it's The Rock embodying this character. It's that it's like Dwayne Johnson, the actor, embodying this character, and maybe bringing some of his like experience in, but it elevates it in a way. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. The Rock in most movies he's in has a personality that's over the top, right?
Yeah.
Like it's The Rock. You know The Rock, how he's going to act. In this movie, you don't get that, and I like that about this film.
Totally co-signed. Absolutely.
Well, and I think some of that is there are definitely two actors right now who fall in the same category, and it's The Rock and it's Ryan Reynolds. And these are two actors who they have so many different business ventures that they are the face of. The Rock owns a tequila company. He has some stuff with the UFL, one of the football leagues. There's like just different companies that he is the front person or owner for. Just like Ryan Reynolds has a football/soccer team that he runs, and Mint Mobile, and all of these different things, and aviation. Anyways, they all have a lot of irons and a lot of fires. Why is this important to the conversation? Well, because they're the face of these different things, they have to have developed this like pop culture personality about who they are. They are The Rock. They are Ryan Reynolds. And they have to always be in some degree of that, or potentially risk all of the different brands that they run, right? So that's why a lot of Ryan Reynolds' performances, he's fun to see and stuff, but they feel a little samey because, he's playing the Ryan Reynolds character as part of his brand, and the same with The Rock. So seeing The Rock branch away from that, I think this is even more of a risk to take on this role than if it was, just some random guy doing this, because The Rock has more potentially to lose by playing at least for the first part of this movie, kind of an unlikable character with a drug addiction. Um, so I think that there's, like, kudos to Dwayne Johnson for choosing that role, for the casting agent for getting him involved, and for Benny Safdie for, trusting The Rock with this role.
Yeah, I don't know that the character he played was really unlikable at any point. I mean, there were some issues that he had. Um, the only purely likable character was probably Mark Coleman in the film. But I don't know. I didn't see any moments where where the Mark Kerr character was, you know, sure, he had the drug issues, but there were moments where he would get mad, and you were hoping against hope that nothing terrible was going to happen, and the worst thing that happened was a smashed door. Or, you know what I mean?
Well, there was a smashed door, but there was also the first third of the movie is full of scenes where basically whenever the Emily Blunt character walks into the same room, he's dismissive of her. He's short with her. He ignores her. So I think that's the most unlikable stuff. It's not that, yes, there's a fear of, like, maybe some, if you don't know the story, like, I hope this doesn't go into physical violence, but there is definitely sort of like an emotional violence that his addiction causes him to enact upon Emily Blunt. And I think that's the unlikable part, you seeing someone treat their partner the way that he does. And again, that it's not his default state, that he's amped up, drugged up, dealing with a bunch of things with his kind of career and kind of where it's at. You understand all of those things, but it also doesn't excuse those things. And I think it's not until later in the movie where we start to see him soften towards her in some places.
Yeah, and it's an interesting commentary, I think, like, on mental health in general. It's like, yeah, he has these issues. He's going through this drug struggle. He's going through, like, this terrible thing. But, like, the way that he is treating his partner adjacently to all this, she has her own issues too. Don't get me wrong. Emily Blunt got very blunty, and I don't mean in a weed way. Like, she's just really strong and direct, and she kind of gloms on, the character. But the way that he treats her adjacently to what he has going on is just, it's like miserable. Like they should both be in counseling. Maybe he should be learning how to deal with his shit and, engage with her in healthy ways. You can't just tell the other person, like, stop having emotional reactions to what I'm doing. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're going through something awful, but, like, be a good person for your partner too. But that's really easy to say. It's a lot harder to do. And who knows if Mark Kerr would, like, go into counseling, with his partner, or, it's easy to armchair quarterback mental health. But I think just seeing it play out on screen, Jim, you mentioned this to me when we were just talking, but I want to make sure and give you credit for it because you called it out. That big fight scene that they have at toward the end of
that
the
was
movie.
a very tense,
So hard.
dramatic, well written, well acted. Like, it plastered me back in my seat because I was so afraid for what was going to happen or what might happen. And
Absolutely.
just again, Will, back to you. The direction of that scene was great. One of the, it's a rough scene to watch, but it's beautiful in a way to watch it come together, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest anxiety moment I had is when she, like, runs upstairs and you hear the boop, 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 boop of the safe code entry, because You know what's in that safe. It's a gun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is she getting that gun to shoot him? Is she getting that gun to shoot herself? Like, what's happening? And he runs up there right as she's about to like pull the trigger against her head. And
Ugh.
I stopped breathing. I didn't know
Yeah.
what was going to
Yeah.
happen. And thank God he like, he like tackled her, but he like turned his body to like fall under her as they like landed, by the tub and everything. And
He
I was
didn't
like,
scoop her
wow,
up and ground and pound.
right. Yeah. Not the time to do that, actually.
Yeah.
But just like him holding her as she's like falling apart and screaming, and like I'm glad that they both kind of got the help they needed. At the end of the movie we get the whole like, text on the screen, what happened after, and I guess they got back together and they got married after they both got the help they needed, and they were only together for another 6 years and they had a kid together. I don't know, obviously why they broke up or what happened, but I'm just, I don't know. I'm really glad that scene didn't end the way it felt like it was going to, because I was very concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Powerful filmmaking there.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right. Well, any final thoughts on the Smashing Machine? Y'all just are burgeoning to get out.
No, I think we got it down for the knockout.
Down for the count.
All right. Well, then I would say we could just go ahead and end the show right here. But plugs are totally a
But
thing.
plugs, yes.
But plugs still
Mm-hmm.
have to happen to help us close out this show. So, I
Say it
mean,
a
what
couple more
comes?
times for any of your coworker friends who might be listening.
Yeah, so for any coworkers or, managers who might be listening, butt plugs. Uh, like butt plugs have to happen before we can end the show. So that's the thing we've got to. Did I do it
Our
okay?
version of butt plugs.
Our
Have
version
we
there.
said butt plugs enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, it's a thinly veiled opportunity for us to say butt plugs on our show. But listen, we are a body positive, kink positive, sex positive, movie positive podcast. There is room for butt plug references on this show. But in all seriousness, the plugs section of the show is where we tell you about things that have landed on our radar, we've checked out, we've loved enough that we really want to highlight, spotlight, trumpet, whatever word you want to use. That means getting them out there so that hopefully you enjoy them too. And Will, you have the honor of using your first butt plug tonight. Uh, what is your butt plug for this week?
I've kind of got two, mainly because there's one bit of sad news that I want to flag as part of my plugs, and then before I move on to something more fun, and that's so Drew Struzan, who is a famed poster designer. He did the Star Wars posters, the Harry Potter, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. My favorite of his is The Thing, E.T., Blade Runner, all of these, like 150 different classic ones. He passed away yesterday as of the time of this recording. There is a really good documentary. It was...
we saw it at South by.
Yep, Drew, the man behind the poster, that really talks a bit about him. So yeah, I saw that news as we were kind of like getting kind of prepped and stuff, and just wanted to say, hey, check out that documentary. Drew Struzan is more important to kind of the world of film than the recognition of his name would belie. You may have never heard of him, but you've seen his work. So that sucks. But what does not suck is a movie that I want to plug called it's another actually A24 film that's in limited theatrical right now, and it's called If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. This is a film that stars Rose Byrne, and it's got a few other notable people in here as well. Conan O'Brien is in this. Aesop Rocky is in this. Danielle McDonald is in this. And it's a story about this woman whose daughter has this sort of mysterious illness. And as she's starting to deal with that and just all of the small annoyances in her life. The apartment above hers like starts to leak, and then all of a sudden like just water crashes through and ruins the middle of their house. This little hole opens up into something way bigger than it was before, consuming her. So not unlike the things that are happening to her in her life as she's sort of dealing with this with her daughter, and also dealing with just all of these things in her life. The Conan O'Brien performance is great because he plays it very deadpan. It's not a comedic role at all, what he plays, which is so played against type. The film itself is cropped very closely into Rose Byrne. So even while she's leading her daughter around town and taking her to appointments, you never see the daughter's face. You maybe see a curl here or her hand being held, but you hear her voice kind of off screen. And it just brings us into this claustrophobic space where we're also experiencing exactly what the Rose Byrne character is experiencing at any given time. It's a very, very unique and powerful piece that is, again, it's in theaters right now. It premiered at Sundance. We had it at Fantastic Fest as well. And so now it is in theaters and making its rounds. It's called If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And it's really, really good, psychologically intense, and really understands how to hit you in that visceral, like, gosh, this is what modern day parenthood is like, and all of the stresses and how much it just sort of has the potential to claw away at you. That just makes it feel so real. So yeah, I'd strongly recommend it.
Thanks, Will. I didn't get to see that one at Fantastic Fest. I wish I had, but it was one of those ones that I just couldn't get a ticket to. So I assume this is limited theatrical. Like I'm probably not going to see it at my AMC.
Yeah, it's open in limited right now. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it'll get a wide, or it'll go to streaming or something soon.
So A24 films all hit. They'll all hit streaming at some point or another. Like the good news is these ones don't die on the vine. These will make it. A24 films are really good about getting them through the art house or kind of small Cineplex circuit.
Yeah.
And before letting them find a place on, whether it be, renting them from Amazon or for Amazon Prime or HBO Max or kind of wherever they happen to find a home at that time.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Will. Appreciate that. Jim, how about for you? What's your butt plugs for this week?
I have a new streaming series to talk about. It's on Netflix. And I'm always on the lookout for new stuff that catches my attention, specifically stuff that's like LGBT related in some way or themed. And this one caught my eye. It's called Boots, Boots, Boots. And it's about this bullied gay high school grad kid who joins the Marine Corps with his best friend despite risk. And this is back in 1990. So this is set even before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was implemented within the military. So he's a gay kid. He goes in. Of course, he's in the closet, keeping this from everybody, especially the Marines. He goes into the Marine boot camp, and it's quite the show. I'm really loving it so far. I think the acting is great. It's got a great soundtrack. Also, for us, movie, music fans out there, I think, like I said, I think the acting's good. I think it's rated. It's definitely rated R. It doesn't pull any punches when it comes to language or nudity and all those, Marine Corps barracks showers, and it's a really good show. It is a coming of age drama, right? He's finding himself as a man, going from boyhood to manhood in the Marines, but as a gay person who needs to stay in the closet at that time. Yeah, I'm loving it. It's called Boots. It's on Netflix right now. One thing I don't know if it's going to be a continuing series. There's like 6 or 8 episodes out, but I don't know if it's just a limited series, like one and done, maybe, because I mean this is
Hmm.
about boot camp. Boot camp doesn't go forever. So
Hmm.
yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. I'm happy with limited series. I don't generally like when series just go on and on and on and then get watered down and turn into kind of a shadow of themselves. So give me one strong season of a show and I'm happy.
All right. Well, I love that you called this one out. Sorry, your son, you can't see it on the camera, but he's trying to get my attention. Hi, buddy. You don't need to put your claws on my shoulder to get my
Yeah.
love. Okay, so I love that you called this one out. We started this show, well, on National Coming Out Day. So it was like the perfect time, to watch a Don't Ask, Don't Tell series. But really, really good. A lot of man candy in this one. I do think it's funny that they have a big overweight character in boot camp, though. Like we were looking this up online, and there's no way they'd like have a 320-pound person in boot camp. Like if you're over like 230 or 40 pounds, they're like, nope, cut off.
Mm.
But it makes the shower scenes more fun, for those who are into the larger bodied folks.
Mm.
But yeah, this is a very layered series, I think. There's a lot of different things about it to enjoy. Um, and the thumbnail picture was a guy doing pull-ups and he has really hairy legs. So of course I was into it, Jim, when you were like, "Hey, do you want to
Hmm.
watch this?" Of
Right.
course. It's a good plug.
Yeah. The only I mean, there's a lot of good young actors in here. The only actor that was instantly recognizable plays the recruit's mom,
Oh
Vera
yeah.
Farmiga. Yeah.
Hmm.
Lorraine Warren
Warren
is in this.
herself.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
almost say Bobbit? I feel like you were going to say
No,
Bobbit.
no, no. Lorraine Warren. I just stumbled over the last name.
All right. Well, speaking of good. So I have two plugs. But one is really, really fast. I'm just calling back to something we talked about on the show during our South by Southwest episode way back in March. My favorite film out of South by Southwest 2025 film, Good Boy, is out in theaters now. It is a horror movie, great for spooky season. It's all about sort of like a guy that owns a dog and he's haunted and bad things are happening in the house. But it's all from the perspective of the dog, which I don't know that I've ever seen in a movie before. We got to see the dog. We got to pet the dog in person at South by. Indy was fucking amazing. Such a great dog. And he's just tremendous in this film. If you're one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, I can't see that movie because something bad might happen to the dog. I'm not going to spoil you, but I think you'll be fine. It's in theaters right now. Go check it out. Really good. But I'm gonna use the other 3/4 of my plug time to plug a movie that I actually didn't think I was going to like that much, and that's Tron Ares. Um, I know, there's some scandal with Jared Leto, and the Tron movies unfortunately just have not been great. But Jim, when you were getting tickets for this, you were like,
You're welcome.
there's thank you. You were like, there's a 3D version, I guess that's an option too. And
Sure.
I was like, ooh, Tron 3D, that could be cool.
The
Maybe it
grid in
will
3D, man.
maybe it will elevate this piece of trash movie that no doubt this is going to be. And so we got there and we put our glasses on, and immediately we noticed that the projector was like not projecting right. Jim, being the superhero that he is, went out and told them, and they fixed it. Thank you, Jim. But the 3D visuals for this were just absolutely fantastic. Like, even if you don't like the rest of the movie, just like seeing the grid and all the cool 3D things that they did was amazing. 3D often is really dark. I did not have that experience with this movie. It was very bright, vibrant 3D. It was really great. And then just from like a cast perspective, there was somebody in this movie. I don't know why I don't remember her from the trailer. But one of our favorite shows right now, and it just came back not too long ago, is The Morning Show. And if you've seen Greta Lee on that show, she's freaking amazing. But she's like one of the main characters in Tron Ares, and I thought she was really fun in this. It was great to see her get a big meaty role like this in a film. So I had a really good time with that movie. I just realized I didn't rate it in Letterboxd, so I need to go do that. That's bad on me. But I had fun with this. It was cool to see in theaters. My recommendation is to see it in 3D. That's what I'm plugging. The 3D in Tron Ares. The rest of it, take it for what you will. But I had a really good time with it. I had a lot of fun.
A lot of people are talking about the soundtrack for this.
Oh,
the score and
amazing.
soundtrack by
Yeah.
Nine Inch Nails.
Yep.
Like, if you're into that, pounding, pulsing, and it kind of fits like the whole feeling of the movie, like being in, motorcycle races on the grid inside a computer, man. You got to have 9 Inch Nails, right? It's going to work. Didn't
Yeah.
Daft Punk do the
I think they did Tron
soundtrack
Legacy,
for one?
right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So won't say any more than that. But it's pretty cool. It's got some good things going for it. So definitely hope you enjoy it if it sounds up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, the two of them have been they have been absolutely killing it with soundtracks. Like, there's a reason why I think they end up getting nominated for an Oscar. I don't know how many they end up winning, but just about every damn year, because, I mean, they did The Social Network, they did Challengers, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they put out such quality work that I'm most excited for. I haven't seen it yet, but we have one of the few like true IMAXs here in Austin, which you guys will get to experience at some point.
Yes.
Which is exciting. So we have tickets for that tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to the sound of it, the look of it, and then also, you mentioned Greta Lee. She was the lead in Past Lives, which was, I think, the best movie of 2023. Right. So it's like, there's definitely some things that are working for me, even if I, have to look past Morbius a bit.
Right. Also sexual misconduct, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Will, I'm super jealous that you're going to see this in IMAX. I wish I was still there so I could see it with you in IMAX, but I feel like you're going to have a good time with it. I can't wait to hear your report after y'all see it. Can't wait to hear what you think.
Me too.
For sure. All right. Well, it is that time. We've been running for an hour and 13 minutes on the dot at this point. Not that we're so rigidly, produced that we have to be an hour and 15 minutes or less, but that's our typical runtime. That's kind of where we fall. So always good when it kind of works out that way. We've reached our natural conclusion point. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. Relative to when we're recording, of course, we had several folks hanging out with us tonight. Had a few in the chat. Always good to hear from y'all. But 99% of people access the show through Apple Podcasts or Spotify rather than watching live, which I totally get. After being in traffic like all of last week while I was in Austin for work, like, you gotta have something to do. And if you choose to spend that time listening to our show, let me make a heart symbol that you won't see if you're just listening to the audio. We love you, and thanks for bringing us into your commute with you. But also be safe out there, because that fucking traffic, no fucking joke. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. In case you want to chat with us between now and our next recording, and by the way, we are off next week. We'll be back the week after, but just an FYI there, we've got some travel and stuff happening. Let's let folks know how they can connect with us. Jim Poliafco, where can folks connect with you?
You can find me on Letterboxd. That's an app or website that you can go to and log all the movies you see, rate all the movies you see, and see what others rate and log those movies as, and review those movies too. On there, I am at JJP Out West. That's my initials, JJP Out West. You can find me on Letterboxd, and also find me on Facebook under my name, Jim Poliafico. Just regular Jim, regular Poliafico. Like there's a lot of those.
All right, regular Jim, regular Poliafico. Thank you. All right, Will, how about you? Where can people find and connect with you?
Facebook, look for William Lindis, and Letterboxd. I'm at the Movie Bear. So yeah, those are the two best places to either connect with me socially or through film.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Will. And you can find me on Letterboxd as well at iBradPro. I rate every film I see, usually around when I see it, but I guess I missed this one, so I need to go back and fix that. But you can also find me on Facebook. Look for Bradley Harris. I'm the, husky, hairy, huggable homo with a beard. You'll see me. Feel free to add me. Let's talk film. We will see you all in a couple of weeks. We haven't quite figured out what we're going to be reviewing, but we've got some cool stuff coming up. It is spooky season. There are horror movies out there. We'll just say horror movies don't get enough love. If there was a time to go see a horror movie, now's the time to do it because it's the Halloween season, and that's kind of a thing some people do. We'll see you all later. I'm done rambling. We're out. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.